Hi folks. So I tend to post a lot of pictures and videos about my adventures on my kayak. I bought this kayak about a year ago. First time I've owned one. Just got into the sport and the hobby, and I found that I really enjoy it. So I'm active on social media, so I tend to post a lot of pictures and videos of my antics. And a lot of people have asked me about this kayak and why I chose this one in particular. So I thought I'd make a little video rather than explaining it and tell people, why I went this direction. First of all, what I have here is a Sea Eagle Explorer 380X. It's from their Explorer series. It's the middle size. It's 12.5 feet long, and it is rated up to 750 pounds or 2 people comfortably. And I purchased it really because of the versatility. This kayak can be used as a single kayak, as a tandem kayak paddling. I also have a fishing setup that I'll show what that looks like. It's also rated to Class 4 Whitewater. Within the floor here, there are 12 drain plugs that if you're going to be in an environment like the ocean or going through rapids and whitewater where you're going to definitely take on water, you open those drain plugs and the boat becomes self-bailing, and you don't have to worry about sinking or getting flooded out, because the water will come in and then it will just drain out through the bottom. I went with an inflatable for space. This kayak weighs about 36 pounds. It's super easy to transport. When it's deflated and folded up, it folds up to about the size of a weekend suitcase that you can put up into your overhead carrier above the seats in an airplane. So for me, from a space perspective, I didn't want a big kayak taking up a bunch of space in my garage, and I liked the ability to take it with me wherever I went. I used to travel a lot for work, and I thought it'd be cool to just throw it in the back of the truck, and if I got somewhere, rather than sitting in a hotel at night, I could find a local lake or stream and go paddling. So again, this is the Explorer 380X. It has 3 air chambers. So you can see the big blue and white chambers here, and then the floor is also inflated. So in the event that you had something catastrophic happen and one of your pontoons just got shredded, you still have 2 additional air chambers that to keep you afloat. As far as inflating it, this is the pump that comes with the Explorer. It's a foot pump, and you can see here. I attach it to the 3 things. It takes me literally 7 minutes to inflate the boat. Now, in reality, I leave it inflated most of the time because I typically use my boat 3 or 4 days a week. So I tend to keep it inflated during the summer months from about April until October. After that, I use it less frequently, and I'll just fill it up every time that I want. So besides the air pump, a couple of other accessories that I've gone with. I added a tow rope, I want to call it, I guess. So this is really nothing more than a 10-foot dog leash that I took off kind of the dog harness, and I put a carabiner on it. I can attach this right up to the front, and in the event that I have to throw the rope to someone, I can do that. If you've watched any of my Schuylkill River videos, you know that I had to drag this thing up a couple of gnarly portages and up and over hills, so it came in handy there. And it's just good to have, right? If you ever get to a section of whitewater that you don't want to or can't go down, you could leave the boat in the water and you could walk along shore and try to go around and just hanging on to the rope to hang onto your boat. The other accessory is the skeg. You've heard me talk about the skeg, and the skeg is really nothing more than a fin, and it attaches to the bottom of the boat under here in the stern, and this is the skeg that came with the boat. And what this does is this helps the kayak track straighter. So when you're paddling, the kayak will want to yaw left or right. With the skeg, you reduce that yaw. Now you can see that this thing's pretty deep. I don't know if this is about 9 inches, maybe 11 inches. But I also purchased a second one, and this is the shallow water skeg. So this is what I use in rivers, and you can see it gets a little workout. It's dirty. But this I use in rivers because it's not quite as deep. So when I run into shallow sections of river, if I'm hitting rocks, this is just a more, it'll bounce and keep me going. So this is my lake or my open water skeg, and then this is when I'm on streams or more shallow water. So let me set up and show you what this looks like in the different configurations. You know, folks, there's one more accessory that I wanted to point out that I purchased that I wanted to make sure I didn't forget to mention, and that's a kayak cart. So the reality is that you're not always going to be able to park right next to the water. If you're going to a lake or you're doing different things, you may not be able to park, you know, right where you get in. You might have to carry your kayak, you know, several feet or 100 yards, who knows. If you're doing river kayaking, there's a very good chance that you may have to portage around a dam, rough water that you can't handle or whatever it may be, and a kayak cart makes all the difference in the world. So I wanted to mention this one. This cart is the Setup kayak cart. I purchased this for two reasons. One, because the base, you can see, is super stable. I mentioned before that the Sea Eagle Explorer is a really wide boat, and when there's gear in it, it can be a little unsteady. So this base is super steady, and the wheels go through anything. Again, I usually strap it about a third of the way back from the rear of the boat, you know, obviously underneath, and you know, just wrap these long straps around, and then I just grab the handle at the front and I pull it away. There's a couple things you can do to store it. You can take the wheels off; they easily clip off. You can take the wheels off and stick it underneath the rear skirt. I keep it together, I keep it attached, and I simply put it back here. It's behind my seat, and I put one of these straps over top. Boom, it's not going to go anywhere, and it's secure, and it's not going to fall out of the boat. So if anyone has seen my videos on the Schuylkill River and some of my adventures there, you've seen I had some pretty crazy portages, and this thing made them a whole lot easier than they would have been without them. So get yourself a decent kayak cart. Don't cheap out on that. Make sure you have one, because it'll save you a lot of pain and aggravation down the road, and make sure that you enjoy your day on the water. All right? Good kayak cart. So here we have the kayak set up in the tandem paddle configuration. You can see that these seats that come from Sea Eagle are inflatable. They're pretty high back. They're also sitting on about a 4-inch seat cushion as well. That does a couple of things. One, it keeps you a little bit higher, which I tend to like. I feel like I'm higher up on the pontoons, so when I'm paddling, I'm not hitting the pontoons as much, so I like being a little bit higher. Also, if you are in whitewater and you have the drain plugs open, that seat keeps you even a little bit higher up off the floor, so that you're not getting wet as water is running in and out of the seat, or in and out of the boat. You see here that we have, you know, two configurations where I sit, you know, the first one roughly in the front third, and then I put the second one as far back as I can go. Plenty of room here for two people. We can strap gear onto the back deck. We can put gear underneath the skirts that are up there. So plenty of room for two of us to go out and do our thing. A couple things I didn't mention on the equipment piece is the paddles. So this is one of the paddles that came with the boat. Perfectly good paddle from Sea Eagle. It's aluminum. It is heavy, but my biggest problem was that I felt it was short. Because of the width of the Sea Eagle, it's wider than a traditional plastic kayak that you might buy at a sporting goods store or something like that. I found that when I paddled, I had to paddle a very vertical stroke, and it just seemed like it was much more effort and much more movement to avoid hitting the pontoons with every stroke. So I purchased a separate paddle, and a couple things. One, this paddle is about a foot longer than the standard paddles that came with it. This paddle is also carbon fiber with very lightweight fiberglass blades. So this paddle, even though it's a foot longer, is significantly lighter than the paddle that came with the boat. So this was an investment well worth making, in my opinion. The longer paddle, I believe this is 260 centimeters versus 230 centimeters. If I could buy a 280 or something like that, I probably would, because I would take another 6 inches longer as well. The other thing that I hadn't mentioned yet is also the PFD, or personal flotation device. Anyone who's seen my videos, you know that I wear this all the time when I'm out in the boat. I just think it's foolish not to. Also, I tend to kayak and paddle alone on a lot of my trips. So, you know, if something happens to me, you know, I'm SOL. So I always wear my PFD. Now, originally I had some inexpensive PFDs that I bought at Cabela's. They were fine. They did what they're, were supposed to do. But what I found was that they were uncomfortable when sitting in the seats, because the cushion in the back was very thick and it was high. So it just made it uncomfortable. So I did a lot of research over the winter, and I purchased a new one. And this has the back is much thinner, so that when I'm sitting, it's just a much more comfortable PFD to paddle in. I also liked it because of all the pockets that I have here. So this really lets me do a lot of different things. I have, I have pockets here where I keep my keys and my wallet, and I zip them up and they're secure. I have another pocket for my phone that I zip up and it's secure. I keep my batteries for my GoPro in here and I know that they're secure. I'm able to attach my whistle, which also doubles as a compass and a thermometer. And I have some other things here from a fishing perspective. I have permanently attached, I have my fish grips, so if I catch something I can just lip it and get it out. I also have my fishing scissors, for when I'm doing things. They're attached via a little string cord, so that makes it easy to work that way. And then in this pocket here, I keep pliers to get the hook out of a fish when you catch them. So that just makes it really easy just to store and have everything I need right handy. And then the last thing I have on here is my knife, which I keep it attached so that, God forbid, something happens and I just need to quickly cut off or cut something real quickly. I have it with me, and I know that I can just gain access to it immediately. So that's my PFD. This wasn't inexpensive. It cost a little bit of money, but in my opinion, it was well worth every penny. So that's the tandem setup. Let me break this down and show you another configuration. So here is the standard single paddle configuration. This is probably the configuration that I use more often than not. You can see that I've attached the seat to the D-rings here that are in the middle of the boat, but that I have the straps extended pretty far out so that I'm pushing back, so I'm actually sitting behind the center line. I find that that's pretty good for weight balance. And you can see when I'm out here, if you're in a single configuration, I have plenty of room for everything I need. I can have a cooler in here. Anyone who watched my trip when I went down Pine Creek Gorge back in Memorial Day, I had it set up like this, and I had all of my camping gear, my tent, my sleeping bags, my sleeping pad. I had 2 coolers with food and drinks and stuff. I had all my cooking and kitchen stuff with me, and I even had firewood in here. So I carried all of that in this, and still had plenty of room to comfortably go down the creek. So this is the configuration, again, if I'm just paddling at the lake or if I'm on a river by myself. This is the single configuration, and this is what I do, and this is how I get around. Okay, folks, so you can see that this is the killer, right? So this is the fishing configuration, and in my opinion, this is just what separated the Explorer from any other kayak that I was looking at, particularly inflatable kayaks, and that is the ability to set this thing up as a bass boat, for lack of a better word. So you can see when I'm set up like this, I have this seat that rests on top of the pontoons. It's strapped and lashed on, it's not going anywhere. Then I have the battery, it's right back here, so the battery just sits there behind me. And then back here is the motor mount. I made this motor mount myself. Sea Eagle does sell one, but I built this. I just bought a piece of oak and I waterproofed it and stained it and painted it and everything else, and cut it to the dimensions I needed, and it works great. And then I have a Minn Kota 30-pound thrust trolling motor on here. It's a 12-volt system, so it's just one battery, it's easy. And you can see my fishing configuration. I have 2 rod holders here, I take my paddles with me. You know, if something were to break down, I have that whole setup, and you know, I can paddle myself in. And you can see still plenty of room. Here's, you know, about 2 feet behind where I typically will keep my tackle box back here, with all of my gear and everything that I need. Up front, I'll typically have you know, a cooler handy here with drinks and food, and I also have a small anchor that I'll use. So it's just a little 5-pound mushroom anchor, 8-pound mushroom anchor that just hooks onto one of these carabiners, and I can drop it and I can fish in a stable location. So again, in my opinion, this was the differential, and what separated this particular boat from a lot of the other ones that I was looking at. You can see on my trolling motor, I've attached an extension handle to it, so I am perfectly able to sit in my seat and hold the handle here right next to me, and I can control the boat. I can steer quite easily, going wherever I'm going, and I can control all the forward and reverse speeds. So super easy, super convenient. This setup literally takes me about an extra 5 minutes to strap all this stuff on, to put everything on, and it's just unbelievable. So this is really, again, this is the killer. I found this year that I actually enjoy the river more than I enjoy the lake, so I haven't used this setup as much. But again, I mean, there's not too many boats that can do this and be able to fish from this high position with the motor. My local lake is electric only, so this is perfect, and it really does everything I wanted to do. So folks, I hope you enjoyed my overview of the Sea Eagle Explorer 380X. I hope if you're considering getting a kayak and you're considering an inflatable kayak, that you'll take a peek at this one. I would love to see more of them on the water. You know, I have more adventures I plan on doing. I have a river trip coming up in a couple of weeks that I'll be doing with some hopefully with a little bit of whitewater. And in about a month or so, we're vacationing down in Florida, and I plan to do some red fishing with this in the Choctawhatchee Bay up around Destin. So I'll have my fishing setup as you saw with the motor. I'll also be fishing from a kayak, probably single as well as tandem with my wife or my son, and I'm really looking forward to it. So again, get out in the water, have a good time, and buy yourself good equipment. You'll enjoy your time on the water much more, and you know, make it an investment that you're happy with. Have a great one. Look forward to seeing you.